Okay guys, this is what we will be doing today. First we have a gender selector and a character selector. If we swap this, okay, we have male and females, and here we can swap between characters. But the most important part is not only that we're using mutable, but the fact that it's compatible with our load system. So let's suppose I add icon and Kayla here. So we have also icon here, and if we sub here, we have Kayla. Okay, so these icons are coded inside mutable. For example, you have here the male and female icons. Inside the male characters, you have the corresponding UI for Roy, Shigeru, and icon. And we're starting to load everything into our character creation component. Okay, so let's start. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is to delete everything that we have here. Everything. Okay, wait. We will go here, delete everything. Now let's clean this. No, there's nothing here. And we'll create a new folder called UI, and I will place this widget here. Okay. And here we'll create some other folders for buttons, etc. So right click, new folder, buttons, and inside this folder let's create a new widget. Sorry, face widget, user widget. There. Let's call it button, widget button. Open it. Here we'll use a border, then a size box, inside the size box an overlay, then a button, and inside the same overlay an image. So be careful here, the image is not a child of the button. Okay. Let's go on the screen, and for the border I will just delete the alpha and no padding. Okay. The size box will be 100 by 100 with no padding there, and the overlay set to full, the button set to full, and the image center. Okay, the button image should be filled horizontal and vertically, and I will draw this as a rounded box. You can see the rounded box here, and I apply a corner radius of 4, 4, 4, and 4 with a width of 5, and just white. Okay, just color white. Fix the radius, use transparency, and I will just for now set it to hidden and hide it because I want to talk about the button first. Here's the thing with the button. That's my dog asking for food. This is the problem with the, well, it's not a problem, it's something that I have to deal with. Usually in the past I use image to create the borders, but in Unreal Engine 5 we have this nice rounded box feature. And the way this works is the tint of the button is this part inside and the outline is this part on the outside of the button. And this is the default color. Okay, I will set the two of them to be the same color. Why? Because this is the color that we will change whenever we're hovering the button, and this is the change that we will see whenever we hold the button. Every time we hover the button, we will say how these two colors change. But I don't care about the color in the middle of the button because we have the image for that. What I want to see is the border. So what I am interested in is in the outline color. So I will set the same corner radius, but I will change the outline to a green, not the tint, the outline. The same with 5 width and fixed radius. So it will be like this, but in green, basically. Okay, and for the preset, the same thing, but with the blue. Okay, let me show you. Here I set the button there, and if I hit play and I press, I can see that the border is changing, and the inside of the button is remain the same because here the tint, I set the tint of the normal one to the default, and the hover I set it to the same color, and the same for the preset. You will see something like this, darker white and almost a gray. This is the default color. So if I hit play here, you can see that the middle color is also changing. You can set that too, but I prefer to use the same color that I'm using here, the default one, in both the hover tint and the preset tint. So what we're changing actually is just the outline, okay, to some gray. This is something like gray, green and blue, but we will change that later. So just the border. Okay, now the image, set it to no hit testable self only, and the reason for that is because if you set the image to visible, it will steal the focus. Okay, whenever you are passing the mouse through this button, the image will steal the focus and you will not be able to click on the button. For example, let me show you. Button and click. I delete everything and I will just print hello, but I will set the button image to visible. I'll look at what is actually happening. I cannot click inside this, but if I go to there, now I have the focus, but not inside. So please, the image should be not visible, and now we have everything ready. Okay, okay, it's working. It's working. Okay, next we need 3 things here. First is a variable of a war controller. Sorry, a component. So this is gonna be VPC character creation object reference. and two strings, 1 and 2. This is going to be the parameter, sorry, and this is going to be the parameter option. Each button will have some info inside about which parameter is ruling on and what is the option of that parameter. For example, let's suppose that this button will change the gender to male, so parameter will be gender and parameter option will be male. If this is the button that switch between characters, this will be, for example, human male, and this is gonna be Shigeru or Roy. That's its idea. Okay, let's put all this into an option category. Option is options, and because these buttons will be generated dynamically, and I need to get these three things from the character creation, I need to set it to editable and expose and spawn the three of them. Edited and expose and spawn. We'll have an event. I will do it later, which will be the one that loads the information for the character creation. For example, we will load the image there, but I will focus just on the return, the event dispatcher. I will create a new one called event on click with two string input. One is going to be parameter and the other is, sorry, parameter option. So whenever we click on that button, we will inform with pass the data here, this data, the parameter and the parameter option. Okay, so let's do this. I don't know why button, I don't know why I delete this. So let's suppose that this is gonna be gender and the option will be male. So sorry. Let's print that info. Okay, it's working. And we will bind this button later here, basically. So we have a valid button. The idea is that we add dynamically these buttons in containers, one for the gender, one for the characters, etc. However, I will not create a universal dynamically generated system like, for example, the one that you have Mutable, where you have all the options in a column here in the left, because I like to stylize my menus, my my user interfaces, and I like that everything is in the corresponding category. For example, I always use male, female here, and maybe the class, and the customization options, area, skin, wherever, on the right, and switch between those depending on the option that you select on the left, switching the one in the right depending on the option that you select on the left. So let me give you an example of what I will try to do. This is a clear example. For example, you have the gender here, classes, races, and all the customization on the right. This was one of the first projects that I was working in the past. I I delete this project, so don't ask for it. But basically, I get the style, the art from one person at one of those marketplace options that you have on internet. And this, you can have this model on Fab. I think that the author is Pure Overson, and the music, I don't remember where I get it. And the lights and all the rest from one of those free sci-fi effects that you can get from there. And the moon, I get this image from the internet and create the ring light, sorry, and all the rest of the sky that you cannot see it from here, but it has clouds and all kind of stuff that are hidden below because of these trees that you have here. But this is basically what I try to do always, is to carefully decide where to put each part of the UI. For example, this option here will be generated automatically, these two, all this, but the place in the screen that each one of these options occupy on the general layout, I prefer that kind of decision is taken by a human being and not put everything on the left in a few horizontal, sorry, vertical container. So I think that you get the idea. Okay, we will come back to the button later, but for now let's go to the widget, the creation widget, and here we will work at the same time in this widget and in the component. Okay, we need to create a few things here that we need to pass to the widget. So let's start with a function, but I don't have the event construct. We don't have this. And the first function that we're going to use is one called get data from loaded character, because we need to get from this character creation here the character, some data. Okay, we need to get some data, because remember that here in the assembly, I think, yes, here we define what characters are loaded and what characters aren't. We need to get this thing, and I don't know, maybe something more, but we need that data. Okay, first we get character to load. Remember that this value is the thing here where we have all the characters that we are loading. We need this character to load. No, sorry, first we need to validate this is valid. And if it is valid, we will have a for each loop, and we will get some info here. Okay, we will get the character here and the gender here, these two, and we will store this information to use it later. But we have, this is actually, sorry, this gender and character info is inside on each one of these one that you have here. So we have for each character that we're loading a character, the gender and the character itself. And we need to store that inside summarize. So add, right, promote to a variable, and I will call it characters loaded. The characters that will load, and the same for gender. add and create a variable called gender genders. You can have more than 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. Doesn't matter. Okay. Okay, there, and then we will get the character creation and use this function here to create character, because we need to specify an initial character. Right, let's use Roy. And here we will need to do, actually we will do it right now. What's happening here? Character can pass the following enumeration. What are you talking about? This is a character. Strange. And this is gender. Who knows? Because this is the correct enumeration. Unreal Engine stuff. So yes, this is of the type character, and this is a character, and this is gender, and this is gender. So I don't know why you can parse that. Okay, yes, we need to create a container for the characters and the genders and toggle them. So let's work with the UI. Okay, let's add 2 borders. Here, 1 and 2. One is gonna be the left border, and the second one will be the right border. The left border is this, and to the left, 500 size, and the brush 0 of padding, black for now, and the right border will be to the right, 500 0 means 1 of alignment, and also black there. Let me test this. Yes, that's the right location. Okay, now let's change this to I don't know, 0.5, yeah, and 0.5 of alpha, and maybe 20 of padding in both cases. And we need 2 size box, vertical box. One in the border and the other in the right border. And this should be, yes, the field horizontal and vertical. This is the same. And inside these 2 vertical boxes, we will add all the stuff that we need to add, basically. Okay, I rename this 2. Now add a text here and a text here. This is gonna be our header text. Okay, text header, and horizontal alignment to fill, top alignment vertically, and notification center. And the font will be Roboto Ball 24, just leave it like that. We will change that in case that we need it. And for this is gonna be characters. Okay, same. Fill horizontal, top align vertically, align center, font Roboto 24. Of course, you will change the font, okay, to the one that you prefer. Okay, let me see how this looks. Yeah, it looks nice. Exactly like this. Okay, now we need to add a horizontal box to fill with our button, basically. So horizontal box, we will add 1 here, this one, and 2 in the right one. Why 2? Because one will be for the males and the other one for the female, and when we click in the buttons on the left, we will toggle the visibility of these 2. Okay, the horizontal box, this one on the left, I rename it to handler panel, and it's a variable, no hit testable. And the 2 on the right, the 2 horizontal box on the right, this is called male character panel and it's a variable, and this is female character panel and it's a variable, and we will collapse the female one and set this to no hit testable. Okay, and just for testing, I will add 1, 2 here, and what I need is this is centered, so this should be set to center line and top, and the same to this. Let's add 1 here. Okay, and this should be center and top line. There. The separation between these two will be added depending when we fill this dynamically. So this is actually working. No, I don't like that this is too close. Let me test this. No, it's too. Let's add some space here. Handler. Where is the padding? Here. Let's add, I don't know, 10. Yeah, something like that. 10, and this also 10. Yeah, I like that. Okay, let me see. Yes, maybe these two should be. Actually, what you can do is to maybe collapse the border. For example, let's say that the border has, I don't know, 10 from the top, or 100 for the top, or 50 for the top, 50 for the bottom. In the example that I showed you a few minutes ago, actually I add some offset of the top, bottom, and left, but well, I will just leave this like this. We will think on the beautification process later. Now delete all these buttons because we will not add this manually. Okay, so I need that you have this basic setup. Okay, the gender panel empty, set this to a variable. The male character panel empty, set it to a variable. The female character empty, set this as a variable, and collapse it. And just in case, here we will get the female character panel and set visibility to collapse it. So we have the female panel collapsed, the male is visible, and we will select Roy as the initial male. Okay, if you want to start with the female, you need to collapse the horizontal box that is this one, the male character panel, and toggle character to, I don't know, Mutable Parameters or Megumi, or one of these other female characters. Okay, get data from the character is ready. And it's the first function that we are gonna do. Okay, and that's it. You will not see anything here, but it's actually working. Okay, before we start with the coding part, I forgot something. Here in the male character panel is horizontal alignment to center and vertical to top, but female should also be center and vertical alignment to the top. I thought that it should be obvious, but just in case, you have it there. So it's the same, male and female are the same. The two panels. The difference is one is visible or not hit testable and the other collapsed. Remember, not hit testable, not visible, because visible will stall the focus. Okay, there. Now before we start with all the coding, we need to create some functions and some things here at here. Okay, we need to get our mutable component or mutable object instance here, and we will feed that into the widget. Okay, let's do some coding. Open the VP character creation component, setup, mutable, and here we have a customizable object setup where we create a customizable object instance usage, one per body part, and we store that in the body map. I will rename this to set customizable object map, and I will create a new function called get customizable object. Okay. We set the map and we will get it. This will be okay. Let's add an output. Okay. We will use the map, this map. Now, what we have here, I will try to explain this quickly, is a customizable object instance usage. Okay, this is basically the code version of doing something like this, adding the customizable. Yes, it's this one, customizable skeleton. It's basically the same but with code. We add one per body part. Remember that we have we attach it to a skeletal mesh and we create the map. Now, each one of these have a customizable object instance because okay, I will try to print it here. I will delete this later. Customizable skeleton. Okay, each one of these customizable skeleton have a customizable object instance. Okay, so we will get the instance from the usage. Okay, this is quite clear. If we have, for example, I know 5 skeleton, we have 5 skeleton custom skeleton customizable object instance. Sorry, I get that. So we have COIU, okay, customizable object instance usage. Each one of these has a customizable object instance. The instance is actually the one that we have here, and each one of these is a child of this one. So we can get the customizable object using any of this one that we have in the map. We just need to extract the instance and then the object. Which one of all the one that we create here? Any of these will have an instance, and all the instances that we have, all the instances are child of this thing that we have here. And this is what we need, the customizable object. So let's get the map. Let's make is empty because it's not empty. I will check first if we have something here. If it's false, it means that it is actually empty. We will just return. And if not, if we have something, we'll get the values. and with this value we will get the customizable option. And for that we will make a for each loop with break. We will break the loop when we have the first one with the value corresponding value object. Here we have the customizable object instant usage, so we'll make a is valid, and if it's valid we'll get the customizable object instance. Okay, get ready for this. And from here we can get the customizable option, and this is what we need, the customizable option. Okay, now before we get this we need to make some validations here. For example, we can have a customizable object instance that is not there, so we need to check is valid here too. And we don't need to make an is valid from here, because if we have an instance it means that we have the parent, because this is an instance of this one. So if we have a valid customizable object instance, it's because we have a customizable object. If you want to make an is valid here, it's up to you. I will not do it, and we need a local variable that we'll call local bool, and I will set this to false here. Let's connect this thing like this here, and the local bool is connected here and after the loop. So if the array is empty, we will set the local bool to false and info false, and here we will info false, so this is not going to report a success if the customizable object instant usage is not valid. If the customizable object instant is not valid, in any of all those cases we will not continue. And if we have everything ready, we have a valid map, a non-empty map, we have a valid customizable object instance usage, we have a valid customizable object instance, then we will set this. And this is going to be our main customizable object, main CO. And we will set it. We will set this to true, and we will break the loop. So only after we have a valid main CO, we will stop iterating inside this array. Okay, so that way we will ensure that we have this customizable object set the correct way, okay? Because it's basically the core of the system that we have the thing. This is literally the core of the system, because it's what we're going to use here on the UI and in some other functions. Okay, so body map is not empty, it's false, we report false and go to the return node value. Okay, we get the value from the body map, and we make a validation here, and we make a validation after we get the customizable object instance. And if everything is valid, we set the customizable object that we get from here, and if not, we get false and false, true here, and that's it. This is the function. Okay, and we need to add this function here. There. If we success, we will continue with this, and if not, I will just make a quick print that is customizable object not loaded. Select that, it doesn't matter. But here we have our main CO before we load the widget. Okay, that's great. That's great. Okay. Now let's come back with the creation widget. And here we will get the character creation. We'll get the main CO we have here. Here's the thing, because I found this experimentally, of course. Even if we go to the load widget after we get the customizable object, after we set everything, that doesn't mean that this main CO is completely loaded. Remember that this is this thing here, and this is huge. You have a lot of stuff, and because this is also loading all these mutable objects that we have here, having the reference of this, it doesn't mean that we have loaded the entire main CO, and that's important. You will hear a lot about not loaded yet quite often in this video. So we need to check this before we continue with the code. We have the reference, the code is working, we'll see it, but that's how it is. In a function, everything is run from the left to the right in just one go. There is no timer here. Remember that you cannot add timer or delays inside a function. It's executed entirely. And yes, we have a valid main CO and we load the widget, but inside the widget, the thing that we have here, it's not entirely loaded yet. You will see that we need 2 or 3 ticks to finish loading this. For that, we will make a is valid node there, and if it's not valid, we will make a delay until next tick. Okay. Remember that we are in the event graph of a widget, so we can make a delay. If it's not valid, we will just loop to the execution pin, and if it is valid, we will continue. Okay, this is just a basic setup. I create a variable called counts. It's an integer. What I'm gonna do is to add 1, okay, each time we fail this. Okay, so each time we go to the loop, we will add 1. Okay, it starts with 0, one loop 1, one loop 2, etc, etc. And when we finish the is valid, we will report that here. We will print this, and the print will say try number the amount of time. Okay, so let's try this. Try number 0. Okay, it's been that it's create everything in one go, but after we start adding things here, you will see that this count is 2 or 3, and we need more than 1 tick to go through all this process. Okay, let's connect this here. Let's connect this, and connect this, and I will leave this here just in case. Okay, and we will continue with this part. After the class, after we finish the class, I will delete this. This is just to check how many times we are actually going through all this delay. Okay, just that's the only thing that we need to get the main CO, and now we will extract information from this main CO, so basically from the mutable object, okay, that we get here, and we'll get information like gender, male character, female character, and anything that we add here, because we will work with the mutable object in the future classes. So we already have a valid reference here, this one, the thing here. to get all the info that we need in our UI. Okay, so now we need to code a few things here. Okay, back to our VPC character creation. We need two functions. One of the two is the most important one, which is called get enum parameter options, and this will have an input of the type string called parameter and two output, one boolean to check if we have succeeded or not, and the other one is parameter options. Okay. I will explain it first before we wrote this function. When we are digging into Mutable, we have the reference of this Mutable object, but we need to get these things here, okay? The parameters that we are using: gender, male character, female characters. Each one of these has an index and a parameter name. Index is basically the number that represents the parameter in this object, and it's defined, I think, based on which parameter you create first. For example, parameter number 0 will be number 1, will be gender, 2 male, 3 female. And parameter number 1 will have a parameter string called gender, the 2 will be male character and the 3 female character. You can search inside this mutable object by the index of the parameter or by the string, but when I try to get the values of these three, in this case enumerations, I mean these values here, I need to use the index, not the parameter name. So we will have to make some changes in our function to dig into these parameters. Also, each one of these, because these are enum parameters, has different values. For example, this has two values, two index 0 and index 1. Index 0 is male, index 1 is female. And each one of these has parameter UI metadata that we will use to feed our UI. For example, UI thumbnail. We can use tags, we can use a lot of things. But we need to access each one of these. In this case, gender, the index is 0 or 1 probably, because I think that I will check this in a few seconds, but I think that they start with 1. Doesn't matter. This gender parameter that we will search by the index has two options. This male character has 3 options and this female character has 3 options. So we need to search for the specific parameter and we need to retrieve all the options that this parameter has. Okay, so let's start with this thing. Okay, first, parameter option is an array. I forgot that. Okay, there. So the first thing that we need to do is to check that the main CO is actually valid. So is valid. If it's not, we'll return false. Okay, we'll return false. That's it. Now we're starting with the mutable functions. Okay, if you search here, mutable, you should have find custom message object. Okay, here you have all the functions that we will use, well, not all, but a few. The first one is going to be find parameter. Okay, and this is the parameter that we are looking for. Okay, remember that this is this name, male character, female character, gender. However, if we write this name in an incorrect way, we will retrieve here a -1 value. Okay? When you have -1 here, it means that the function cannot find this parameter. So we need to check that this is not equal -1. There. So if this report -1, it means that we write this incorrectly and we are not to see it. Again, we fail. Only when we find the parameter we can continue with this value that we have here. So if we find the parameter and it's not -1, it means that we have something here. We'll promote this to a local variable that I will call it local parameter. There. And here we can safely start with the local parameter and with the main CO, because now we can use all the functions that we have here that basically requires the index, this index. Okay. For example, I don't know, get component name, get enum parameter value index. A lot of the functions require the local parameter, or I will say the corresponding index for this parameter. Okay. In this function, we will search for get in parameter num options, and it requires a parameter index. Okay. This function, what it does is to give all the index that you have in each parameter. For example, on the parameter handler you have index 0 and 1. On male characters you have 0, 1 and 2, female characters 0, 1 and 2. But if I remember correctly, it's informed the number of parameters, 2, 3, 3. And as you can see, this function does not accept the string, so we need the integer. Okay, we need the integer, the index that defines this parameter. We cannot search by the string. So this step to parse, basically, because we're parsing the parameter, the string, into an integer, is needed. And now we will loop for loop, not for each loop, between all the options. Okay, what I mean is, for example, for male character, we will search in each one of these three, row, zero, and icon. So we will have first index 0 and last index 1. The problem is that this thing actually gives you the number of options without the zero. It means that it will give you, for example, here 1, 2, and 3, not 0, 1, and 2. So one way to fix this is to subtract 1 in the last index. The other option will be to start from index 1 and do this, but I always want to start with 0. There. So we are iterating between all the options for a given parameter. Okay. If we search for male characters, we will have row, Shigeru, and icon. Okay, these three things. And now we need to search for get in parameter available option. there. And the difference with this one is that here we need to specify the k. The k is basically the option that we have inside these values, and it's come from our index. Okay. There. And here we have basically the name. For example, Shigeru, Econ, etc. This is where we can get all the options based on the name, the parameter name. There. And we need to store this into an array basically. So let's add an array, extend local variable, let's call it local options, there. And when we finish the loop, we should inform success and our local option parameter. Okay, there. Okay, this is the function. Okay, we check if it's valid. We find the parameter index using the parameter name or the parameter string. We check that we have something because it's not equal to -1. We set it. We then search for all the options that we have for that local parameter, and inside that all the available option inside that parameter. For example, all the genders, all the characters, etc. And after that, we inform all the options that we found basically. This should be a pure function. Yes, if I remember correctly, this is a pure function. And here I made a quick test just to show you. This is the widget. Remember, if it's valid, we will run this function, get enum parameter options, this one here, using our character creation component. And look at this, I am searching for male characters. Male character. I should get Roy, Shigeru, and Econ. Okay, let's see. Roy, Shigeru, and Econ. Let's search for female characters. I should get Liz, Megumi, and Kyla. Liz, Megumi, and Kyla. And now I will search for gender. And I should get male and female. So we have a function that actually dig inside the mutable object, the customizable object, and can retrieve information of the parameter of the enumeration that we are creating. In this case, it's just an enumeration because we just have enumeration, but if we create Boolean or whatever parameter that we define, for example, I know floats, textures, integers, wherever, we will need to create another function to get the options from. For example, get int parameter option, get Boolean parameter options, but we will start with this one, okay, with enum, because we're using enums. And this is actually working, okay. We need another function, but I will write this, I will call it later. I want to come back to creation widget because we need to start filling these panels with our mutable info. Okay, let's create a function called Populate Panel with buttons. Okay, this is gonna be the function. Okay, the function that will load everything. So we need some input here. first is gonna be a string. The second one will be a boolean. The third one is gonna be a panel, if I remember correctly. Panel slot. Yeah, this one, panel slot. And the third one is the button. More specifically, this button, W button, or the name that you use for that button. However, in this case, I can see it here, but if it doesn't show up here, the way I fix it is by adding a button here, like this, and then when I search for button here, it shows up. So if you cannot see it, just add one. You can delete this later, and then you have your button. Okay, just one check. This is not a panel slot, it's a panel widget. There, panel widget. Okay, and I rename all this input like this: parameter name, skip the check, panel bottom right, and we need a float. And this is gonna be the horizontal padding. The horizontal padding of the buttons. There. And finally, bottom array is of course an array. Sorry. Alright. There. So the first thing that we need to do is to get the character creation. And search for the function that we have just written in the component. So it's get enum parameter options. This one. We'll feed the parameter name here. And if we're success, we will make a for each loop. And if we don't, that means that we didn't find any parameter option for this parameter. Maybe because we typed the wrong parameter name. For example, here instead of gender, we use genders, or anything that is not correctly labeled on mutable. Remember that these are mutable parameters. That's one possibility. The other possibility is that the mutable is not fully loaded yet, so we need to give it some time. And we will give it some time with basically running this function again and using this function again to check if we have the options or not. I will just type the first one, which is the first. This is gender, right? Yes, gender. Let's just add gender here. I will skip this for now, and I will show you how we continue with this. Actually, let's make some changes here. Let's just add a boolean, not an array, and check if we succeed running all the loop here. And if we keep this part, we will just return false. There. If we find options, we will fill the panel with buttons, and if we don't find anything, we will just inform false, and then we can, for example, make a delay check and then run this again. Doesn't matter. Yes, this is going to be probably the best option, to just inform if this function is actually working or not with just a boolean. Okay, now we will store this in a local variable called sorry. Okay, again, let's drag from here, promote to local variable, and the name is local parameter option. Sorry. Okay, then we need to check if we are skipping the loaded or content or not. So get skip loaded check. This is actually a small fix that I made to this function because we will use this to populate. For example, in this case, if we're using gender, we will populate the gender panel. And let's drag from here and promote to a variable called button gender button array, and add that choose panel. Now, the way this skip loaded check work is if I check this, it will skip all the loaded check, okay, all the things that we have done here, this character loaded and gender loaded. Basically we will use, for example, character loaded to check what character we need to add in this panel or not. For example, if you now where is yes, in the controller, if you add Roy, Liz, Shigeru and Megumi, and we are here and we're showing the male character, we just need to add Shigeru and Roy. Okay, we don't add icon, for example. So we need to check what character we have loaded in our component before we start adding info about those characters here in the panel. So we will make a small skip in some cases, because for example when we're using gender, we don't need to check if we're loading Roy, Shigeru, an icon, or just Roy or just Shigeru, but probably we will have a male and female character, probably. That's why I skip the content for the gender, but when we're loading male characters or female character, I will not skip that. So this is where we write some extra thing on this skipped version. I'm not, but yes, this is the intro. Okay, let's change this. In this case, we are skipping here and we are not skipping here, but I want the opposite basically. So let's add a not boolean, let's go with this. Is create widget. Create widget. So if this is true, this will be not false, and we will go to this part of the flow. So we will create a button. Okay, so for each parameter option, we will create an option. Button, sorry. And the character creation is this one. Parameter is this thing, parameter name. Get parameter name. Parameter name here, and parameter option is our local parameter option. So we have a button for male and female here, one for male and one for female. Okay, next is to add this to our button array, these things here. Get button array. Okay, this one. This is basically the root node of this. Okay, don't use this gender button array. Use the thing. and then you will add it to here. Okay, that way we're creating buttons and we're adding to the corresponding array. So in all the cases, because we will run this multiple times, we'll have an array of buttons that will be stored in different categories or different array, depending on if this is a gender button or a character button. Okay, so button array, not gender. Okay, this here, and then we will need to. Okay, we need the panel here. Panel, get panel, the thing here. Okay, this is the thing. This is the root. Remember that this icon means that this is basically the thing here. And we need to add child here. And finally, we will cast to horizontal box because we need to fix the padding. Padding should see set padding. Sorry, set padding. Let's make margin, and we have here horizontal padding. With horizontal padding. Horizontal means left and right. Okay. There. Okay, and finally, I'm going to do one more thing, but before that, we need to add a custom event here. Add custom event. Call it load button. And here we'll drag from here and call load button. This event will load all the info. When I mean info, I mean thumbnails and icons and all the rest thing. But first we need to create a button, store it into an array, add it to the panel, set the padding, and then we will load the image of the button. Okay, in this case we don't have anything here, but believe me that it will work. So let's check this. We have render and we should have only two. Yeah, we have two, and they are not doing anything yet, but we have two. Okay, now let's add this part. Okay, this is simple. Let's get the character loaded. For each loop, we'll go with the enum string here, and we check if this is equal exactly string to our local one. And if it's true, we will break the loop or stop the loop and just go here. Okay. Okay, so basically we are searching for our loaded character. So that means that, for example, here, if we search for male character, we have Roshiro Nikon. So we will iterate in this for each loop 3 times. But after we go for the first one, because we are not skipping in that case, because we will use, for example, male characters as the parameter name, and we are not skipping, In this case, we will check what characters are loaded in our component here, and we have Roy and Shigeru. So let's suppose that this give us Roy, Shigeru, and Nico. So the first one is going to be Roy. The flow of the code will go from here. It will check if inside this array we have Roy, and it's correct because we have Roy here. Because this is true, it will go directly into the button creation. You can this actually it will keep going on, but the truth is that all the others element inside this array will give false because you have just one characters named Roy. The other one will be Shigeru, and this is going to be false. So you are actually breaking not the loop, but just the creation of each additional button. The second time this run, this is going to be Shigeru, and this is called Roy. It will give you a false. It will call Shigeru, it will give you a true. Probably I should optimize this a bit, but this is actually a quick fix that I made a few days ago. I will change this probably in the future because we need to filter some values here compared to these values here, and probably I will make a quick for each loop between this and against this thing here before we run this. But well, for now this is working. So yes, now let's check this. Let's go for male characters. We are not skipping. The panel should be male character. We will create a new array called male character buttons array. Buttons, two of padding there, and we should have two buttons because remember that we are loading Roy and Shigeru only. So we have male and female and nothing here. Why we are not? What am I missing? Okay, I found the books. The book is this one. Mutable Roy is not Roy. Mutable Liz is not Liz, and etc. etc. And the problem is that in the other project I renamed this enumeration and delete the mutable word here. Become Shigeru Liz. There. Compile and save. Probably it's the best to open the thing, compile and save. And let me check quickly this thing, compile and save. Okay, it should work now. Yep, we have here two. Roy, Liz, Shigeru, Roy. You have all the comparison here. Roy on Roy, we create a button. Liz with Roy, no, we don't create anything, etc. etc. So this is working. There. Yes, this is ready. And we need one more for the female character. So let's copy and paste this. This is gonna be the female characters. Remember, this is mutable. It's a mutable variable. Female character. This name here. We're not skipping, and the panel is the female character panel. And let's create a button array. From variable, it's gonna be female character buttons array. There. And we have our 3 buttons working, but you can't see anything because we're not loading the button data. I need to do 2 more things. One is to create all the bindings so this button actually do something, and create a thumbnail, or I will say all the data to load the information for the thumbnails. Let's start with this part because it's the part where you will start seeing things. You will see how the things actually work. So we need to load, or I will say import images for the buttons, okay? For this button. Okay, after you have downloaded the icons, go to the UI. Here, when we have the creation widget, let's create a new folder called art, and inside this let's import the icons itself. Here I have the 3 male, the 3 females, the male and female icons, and a blank one. I will just use all the other one, not the blank, but keep it because it will be useful in the future. Okay, now select all of them, right click, edit selection in proper matrix, compression setting, user interface, level of detail, Word UI. There, save. And now let's add a folder called gender, and we will add this to here, and another folder called characters, and we'll add our 6 characters. Now I am supposing that you are using my characters. That's why I am providing these 6 characters. If you have your own metahumans, you will have to create your own icons. Okay, I think that that's quite obvious, but well, just in case, I want to clarify that. Okay, now we need to use that icons inside Mutable. Okay, it's time to add all this into Mutable. Okay, open CO character, and here at gender, expand. Okay, first select the one that says male, parameter UI metadata, and here in U thumbnails is where you actually select the thumbnails, the icon, and male. This is the male one, okay, and female, and select the female UI thumbnail, okay, male and female. Compile and save. Now go to male character, and we need to do the same. Let's start with Roy, parameter UI metadata, UI thumbnail. This is Roy. Now go to Shigeru. Now go to icon. This is icon, and we're done with this. Female. Liz. This is Liz. Megumi. This is Megumi. And Kyle. Now pay attention that each one of these has a custom, or I will say not custom, a predefined AR. This has this AR, Megumi this AR, Roy this AR, so we need to make something so each time we change the character we select the corresponding AR. We'll do that when we fix the AR later, probably in one video or two. But now let's just add the image. Okay, so we have, sorry, I want to check. Yes, it's correct, it's correct, it's correct. Okay, compile and save. Now that our mutable component, our customizable object, has the UI info, let's go to button and load that data in this event. Okay, get the character creation, get the main customizable object. Let's make a quick validation here. It's valid. To give the system time to load the customizable object, of course. Make a delay until next tick. And close it like this. Okay, and now we can start. So from here we will search for get enum parameter value UI metadata, this one, okay? And the parameter name, the option name are these two. And from here we will break the data, and we need the UI thumbnail. But this is a soft reference, so we need to load async load asset. Okay, async load. There. Now this is a texture 2D soft object, and we need now to cast this to a texture 2D, but not from here, but after we have completely loaded the texture. Now get the button image, set brush from texture, this one, and we will use this texture today. There. And before we test it, let's go back to the designer, and here at button image, set the width from to 0, okay? 0 width, because it will add an extra padding with the border. So 3 of padding with 0, that's it. So this should be working right now, and it does actually. We have male, female, and the 2 characters. And if we add, for example, here icon, where is icon? Icon. We play, we have icon 2. Okay, it's working. Now we need to add some stuff here, because this is actually not working, because this button have no binding, no action, no nothing. Okay, let's work on the binding now. Okay, let's finish this. We are at the creation widget graph, and here, before we start with the binding, we leave this, okay, this to connect something. My idea was to use a simple branch, and if this fails, let's connect this to this and this to this. So we need to do it 3 times. So I create a macro called conditional delay, and inside I just add a branch, and if it's true I continue with the code flow, and if it's false I make a delay until next tick and report the false. So we can just add this here, and if it's false I will return this, and if it's true I just need to connect this here. This 3 times. There. Okay, you can skip this if you don't want it. I will use all this delay here just in case. So I will only continue with the second one after I populate the first one. Okay, now let's use this tree array. Gender, male and female. For each loop, what we're going to do is to use the dispatcher. Remember, this dispatcher, sorry. So bind event to event on click, this one. No, not this one, sorry. This one. Bind to a new event called eventually handler. Let's add the same here for each loop. When we complete this, let's go to this one. Bind event to event on click. Event is gonna be event chocolate melt. Same thing here. Each loop. And event to event on click. Advent event toggle females. There. Okay, let's start with this one. Okay, from parameter option equal exactly string, and we need to check if we're using a male or a female. So let's start with the male. In fact, let me check. We're using male, yes, male. Okay, and if it's true, we need to collapse these two panels. So we need the panels, sorry, male panel and female panel, and we need to remember that we collapse it here. We set the visibility of the female panel to collapse. Well, it's the same, but set visibility, we will use a select. Okay, this and this. And fit this here. So if the selection is male, let's check this G and this here. True is male, false is female, and we will set the visibility to not hit the server self only to the true. If we select male, this will be true, and we set visibility to the male characters panel to not hit disable. And if this is another thing, for example female, we will use the female character panel to set the visibility to not hit disable. But before this, I prefer to do the opposite first. And let's set this to collapse and invert this. So let's check this just one time. If we select male, this one wanna be true, so the female character panel will be collapsed, and if this is true, the male character panel should be set to no hit testable. However, if this is false, because we are selecting the female, the male character panel should be collapsed and the female character panel should be no hit testable. Okay, so let's try this, and it's working. Look at this, we're swapping the panels. Now we need to change the character actually. Okay, so after we toggle the panels, let's get the character creation, and remember that here we do the same. Here we use the function toggle character to set drawing, because we decided that we start with the male. Well, same function, toggle character, and we need to select one, so select So if we select male, let's change this to Roy, and if not, to Liz. I will leave this selection like this, but probably in the future we will use the male or the female as a string converted to enum to toggle this, but just to keep the selected character. But let's try this. Okay, and it's working. Okay, these two buttons are working. Now we need to add some functionality here, and we are done. And here we will use a new event, custom event, called event toggle character, and it will have a string called parameter option. There, and let's call it here event toggle character, and feed the parameter option here, and Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. There. Okay, we'll use the same event. Okay, and why is not working? Event toggle character should work. Just driving me crazy in reality. Okay, done. Let's do this, and we are done. Okay, here's the problem. We need to dig into an enumeration, okay, like this one, and we're using a string, so we need to parse a string to an enumeration. I tried to parse string to enumeration using blueprints for a long time, and the fastest way to do that is by using a simple map. Believe me, it's the best way to create a simple map, that it will be a string and it will be a map, and this is gonna be the character, no, this one, character, and just add a value for one of the characters. So this is our map, okay, our parse map. We're transforming UFO male mannequin into a UFO male mannequin enumeration. It's a part of an enumeration. Roy will be Roy, Liz, etc, etc. Okay, so we need to add this for each one of the characters that we have. I know, but this is the fastest and safest way to parse an enumeration in a string into enumeration. Get character map, because now I can just find this thing here, and I have the enumeration to fit here. It's the fastest way, really. I try a lot of methods to change, for example, this to byte, this to integer, this to whatever, and eventually you have an spaghetti of conversion, and believe me, this is the fastest way. Actually, so one more now. Just a simple toggle character using our finded character here, and this should work. Shigeru Roy. Change it, please. Megumi, please. Shigeru Roy. Okay, I didn't want to finish this video without showing you what I did to the camera. I set the camera 4 meters to the characters. I decreased the field of view 45, and I changed a few more values here. Probably when we are almost done with this, I will change this camera to a better one and create a few more stuff. But look at this. This looks nice, really. It's empty because you can add a lot of stuff here, but it's nice. I just need a few transitions to left, right, zoom in, zoom out, but the rest, I am comfortable with this. Okay, what's next? Probably to fix the error, but the core system is almost ready. We just need to add a function to load floats, integer, and who knows what's more, but the truth is that the link between the character recognition component and the mutable object is ready. We just need to add more target or wherever we wanted, and with a float, a slider that will change the float, or any other stuff, we can literally do whatever we want. The system is synchronized with mutable 100%. Okay, so we just need to add stuffs. Okay guys, I hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.